The Champions League action for the week is over. We got a nice little 3-2 win against Manchester City in the first leg of our playoff matchup. And to be honest, we should have scored more, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. But regardless, we got to look ahead because we have a huge matchup on Saturday in La Liga where Real Madrid will be traveling to take on Osasuna. And you guys already know what I'm about to say. This is a must-win game. We absolutely need to pick up 3 points. We cannot afford to drop any kind of points in this game because the La Liga title race is starting to heat up, and we don't really have that much room for error. But big up to everybody that's watching, right? Make sure you guys smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, get in the comment section, and let me know what you're saying for this game. And at the end of the video, I will be building the starting 11 that I expect Carlo Ancelotti to put out there because we can't even rest players. The magnitude behind this game is so huge. It's actually crazy to think that a matchup against Osasuna has this much importance on it. But let's get into it, right? We're going to talk about team news for both of the clubs. And then, like I said, at the end, we will do that expected starting 11. Now, let's talk about Real Madrid because you see here in La Liga, we are top of the league. And let's not get this mistaken. We've absolutely bottled the lead that we had, right? You want to lose to Espanyol 1-0 a few weeks ago. And then in the Madrid derby, we also got a draw. So now, instead of having a few points between us and Atletico Madrid, for example, now it's only 1 point. Barcelona are only 2 points behind us. If we lose this game, or if we even draw, it will be unacceptable. Because now, like I alluded to when I started off the video, we have no room for error. 23 games played so far, right? We've won 15, we've drawn 5, and we've lost 3. Plus what? 29 goal difference. We're on 50 points. In our last 2 games, right? We drew against Atleti, and we should have beaten them. Against Atletico Madrid, we were the better team. But those scumbags always seem to find a way to get something in the league whenever we play them. I absolutely hate Atleti. And then we lost to Espanyol 1-0. Unacceptable. That, to me, is crazy. There's no excuse to be losing against Espanyol, especially considering that they're a team that's fighting relegation this season. But look at Atleti. Only 1 point behind us, right? We're on 50 points. They're on 49. Barca are on 48. So if we mess around this weekend, there's a chance that we start the next La Liga match sitting in second or third. So huge game. I'm not trying to lose. I'm not trying to draw. I want a dominant performance, right? But just looking at the form that we've been on in general, right? So the last game that we played, right, was against Manchester City. We'll talk about that in a second. But, look, Atleti, we got the 1-1 draw. I think that we should have won that game, right? Atletico, they came to the Bernabeu, and they absolutely stunk out the place. They weren't trying to win that game. They were happy to get the draw, and I don't blame them because the pressure was on us to go out there and get the 3 points. It's like every single time that we play Atleti in La Liga, they either beat us or we draw. It's actually very jarring, to be honest. But look, we beat Leganés 3-2 in the Copa del Rey, right? Lost to Espanyol 1-0. But in the UCL, we've been solid so far, right? You see the win against Brest, the 3-0, right? The 3-0 win against Real Valladolid, 5-1 against RB Salzburg, things like that. So, I mean, aside from the last 2 league games where we dropped points, we kind of have been on a decent run of form ever since we got our asses whipped by Barcelona in the Spanish Super Cup final. Now, I know that I brought up the match that we had against, where is it? The match that we had against Manchester City. And I actually do want to talk about that because, to be honest, right, I actually think that we played okay. I know that in my match reaction for this game, I was super harsh on the team, and that's mainly because I just thought that we could have done a lot better, right? I didn't think there was any excuse for us to only score 3 goals. This was a game that we should have scored 5 or 6. The amount of big chances that we had was absolutely crazy. You had Mbappe missing a 1v1, Jude, who had a good chance as well, right? Mendy with that chance that he missed. So while I wasn't happy with how much respect we showed towards Manchester City, I do have to say that for us to go to the Etihad, right, and to get our first win at that stadium in regular time, while also dealing with all those injuries, it was very good to see. And again, I was happy with the win. I just thought that we could have looked a lot better. But to be honest, that's just classic Real Madrid, right? Like, let's just be real here. We know that we usually, especially in games like this, in terms of style of play, especially underneath Ancelotti, we do kind of get outplayed. So, it is what it is. But that was a very big dub for us. And now we do have the advantage in this UCL playoff matchup heading into the Bernabeu with a little bit of a cushion at the top, but the job's not done. But point is, heading into this game against Osasuna, if we were able to create those chances against Man City, and I know that they've fallen off of a cliff this season, but regardless, if we're able to impact them that way and be deadly on the counter against Osasuna, a team where we should be dominating like we did last time we played them, then we should definitely be feeling confident heading into this game. Now, to kind of talk about the last time that we played Osasuna, right? I remember this game, 4-0 victory. It was actually one of the better performances that we had this season, because that was the game where Militao tore his ACL. And that's when we were all introduced to Raul Asensio. And that game right there, we cooked Osasuna for 90-plus minutes. That was one of the rare games this season that we were just dominant from start to finish, right? Vinicius had a man-of-the-match performance. Jude also scored that day as well, right? I remember Raul Asensio, right, came on and got an amazing assist with the long ball over the top, right? And I just thought everything clicked this game. But yeah, this is where Militao towards ACL. I believe that Lucas Vasquez also picked up an injury in this game. And then I think same thing with Rodrigo as well. I remember it was a few injuries that happened in that first half. And we were all sitting here like, yo, we're happy that we absolutely dominated. But look at the injuries that we picked up, right? Vinny got a hat trick, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Mbappe this game didn't score, but I actually think that he played well in terms of helping with the build-up and getting involved in the final third. It was a really good performance. And as I said, it was one of the best performances that we've had all season. And I'm hoping that we can continue that kind of form, right? I know that since this new year has started, we haven't looked the best in terms of on the pitch, but let's be honest. We don't have a style of play, right? Carlo Ancelotti is not a tactician. Carlo is more of a man manager. All that he does is sets up the starting 11, and then he just lets them do whatever they want, right? There's not actually any, instructions going on. It's just individual brilliance. So we're going to have to rely on the players to kind of put in a shift like what they did last time we played them. Now, obviously, it's going to be a little bit more difficult because we're going to be at Osasuna's ground, right? So they're going to have the crowd behind them, and we are going to start talking about them in a few seconds because they are actually doing pretty decent in the league so far. But yeah, I want to know what you guys are saying for Real Madrid's form, and I just want to know how you're thinking we should be approaching this game in terms of style of play. I would definitely love to see us dominate the ball and create as many chances as possible. I would love to just absolutely cook them once again, right? Maybe we get a 5 or 6-0. I'm seeing Barcelona slap teams up like this. I think it's time that we do the same as well. We have to make a statement Because if we drop points this game, there's a possibility that we are not going to finish this weekend at the top of the league, which would be unacceptable. So, again, get in that comment section, right? Now, let's talk about Osasuna, because they are sitting in the top half of the table, right? They are ninth. And I got to give them credit, right? I think Osasuna, for a club of their size that don't really have a budget and they don't really spend that much money, I think that they've been decent this season for sure, right? And for them to be in the top half of the table, right, they're not that far off of possibly finishing in a European spot, right? More so the Conference League I'm talking about. But look, in 23 games, right, they've won 7, they've drawn 10 times, and they've lost 6. Now, they do have a -4 goal difference, and they are conceding a lot of goals. And I think this is where we can take advantage. But in general, they have been finding their themselves in competitive games, right? Like, again, they're only 4 points behind Rayo Vallecano, who are sitting 6th in the table. So this is going to be a massive game for them as well. Now, just looking at their recent form, right? Because they are going to be going against us. And, you know, it does look pretty mid, right? They got a draw versus Mallorca. They lost versus Real Sociedad and Copa del Rey, but they did beat Real Sociedad, who are a good team, right? I know that Real Sociedad have kind of fallen off this season, but they're not a bad side at all. So that is a big win for them. But they have gotten just quite a few draws, like over their last 5 games. So, you know, like that is something to think about as well. But, for example, right, they beat Athletic Bilbao in they lost to Real Sociedad in Copa del Rey, but they beat them in the league. And then before that, in the earlier rounds of Copa del Rey, they did beat Athletic Bilbao. Now, they have a 1-0 L to Atletico Madrid, but the biggest result that they've had all season, and let me see if I can find it right here, but they did beat Barcelona, right? And I'm trying to find it, but that was at the time where Barcelona were flying. And I look right here, right? They beat Barcelona 4-2. This was, I believe, in September, early in the season, right? Barcelona were top of the world. They were slapping every team that they played. And then they went up against Osasuna, and then they lost. So, look, they have played Giant Killer before this season, but when they went against us, they weren't able to do that. Now, let's look at the squad that they have, because even though we've played them, I don't necessarily remember anybody. So if somebody that's watching is a fan of Osasuna and tunes into their games, let me know, right? Like, who are the players that we need to be worried about? Because aside from when we played them, I've not watched them at all this season. Now, I know that they have some talented players there. Like, I do know this Brian guy, the left winger that's on loan from Bayern Munich. I do know him. I've heard about him before, right? And they do have valuable players in their squad. So, again, let me know, right? Which one of these players can give Real Madrid the most trouble, right? And do you think that they're going to take the game to us? Because every single time that we've played a team that I view as so inferior to us, they sometimes come out and they play like their lives depend on it, right? I've seen so many amazing defensive performances from teams who concede so many goals, right? I've seen other teams' goalkeepers turn into prime Manuel Neuer with a little bit of Gigi Buffon and Casillas in there with some of these big saves that they make when it's time to play us. So I definitely don't want to underestimate them, but I don't know who any of these guys are, right? It's a bunch of NPCs out there, except for a few of them, right? Like I said, I do know Brian Zaragoza, and I also have heard of this Enzo guy that is their defender, and also Amir, the attacking midfielder. I've heard of these guys, but I'm just not that familiar with their game. Now, last thing that we'll talk about with Osasuna is any of the injuries that they do have. So they're saying that Budimir, he might be doubtful for this match. Okay, well, Boyomo might be suspended due to disciplinary issues. Raul Garcia is possibly doubtful. Lucas Toro, they're saying, is doubtful. Who knows? Who knows? Because sometimes, right, we see players that are, you know, questionable on the injury reports, and then next thing you know, I see them in starting 11. So we'll take all this with a grain of salt. But again, let me know what you guys are saying for Osasuna. Now, let's flip it over to Real Madrid's injury news, because we do have quite a few players out, right? The last few weeks have not been kind to us. We essentially don't have a back line, because that's who's injured. Is everybody that would be in my defense. Now, Lucas Vazquez got injured earlier this week with a muscle injury. They're saying that he won't be back until later in February. And I think this is a game where Lucas Vazquez could have definitely played a big role. But unfortunately, not going to be available, right? David Alaba, they're saying that he won't be back for another few weeks as well. He got injured, I believe that was after the Espanyol game, if I'm not mistaken. But he's not going to be available. Same thing with Rudiger. No, sorry. Did they both get injured against Espanyol? Now that I'm thinking, because Rudiger definitely was injured against Espanyol. I remember we subbed him off in the first half. The David Alaba injury, that came out of nowhere, right? I don't remember seeing anything during that game that indicated that he was injured. I think David Alaba was injured in training after that match. But it was like Rudiger got injured like that game, and then it was confirmed how many matches he'll miss on Sunday. And then like on Monday, David Alaba picked up an injury as well. Now, Eder Militao, Dani Carvajal, they are both out for the season, right? They both did their ACL. Like I said, Militao towards ACL the last time that we played Osasuna, and then Dani Carvajal towards ACL when we played Villarreal early in the season. So look, I have no actual back line. You know what I'm saying? We are out there playing with a makeshift defense. It's actually crazy when you think about it. 2 seasons in a row of just major injuries to my defense. But to give Carlo some credit, I think that we have handled these injuries well in terms of, getting creative with the back line, and then also being able to, get results in bigger games. And to me, it's not really an excuse, the injuries, because the club knew about all these injuries, and we still did not make any signings in the January window. We knew that we had a lot of games coming up in the second half of the season, and they did absolutely nothing. So to me, while some people might try and use the injuries as an excuse for maybe some bad results, I will not do that, because the club have literally nobody to blame but themselves. But these are the injuries. Now, let's get into my favorite part of these match previews, and that is building the starting 11 that I think Carlo Ancelotti needs to put out there. Now, normally, right, in a game like this, I would say we should be rotating a bit, only because we have to play Manchester City a few days after this. And I am worried about more injuries happening. Like, I do have PTSD. But unfortunately for us, because we messed around against Espanyol and lost 1-0, because we dropped points in the Madrid derby, we now have, as I said multiple times this video, no room for error. So we have to play our strongest 11, because we absolutely need to win this match for us to stay at the top of the league. Now, let's get into it. Now, I'm going to say the 4-2-3-1, and I think we are going to have Thibaut Courtois in goal, right? Thibaut Courtois, best goalkeeper in the world. We don't even really have to explain that, right? Now, at right back, with no Lucas Vazquez, I think that Valverde just has to play there until he's fit. I don't think that there's any other real option that we have at right back that makes me feel confident. And I highly doubt that Carlo Ancelotti is going to use a kid from the academy, right? Carlo barely trusts the youth. Valverde, they're going to have to do a shift at right back again. And to me, I think that Valverde is the best option that we have at right back, with Dani Carvajal being out injured. Now, at right center back, I think that we're going to have to go Raul Asensio, right? Raul Asensio. Okay. I don't know why. I know he's in this database. Here we go. Yeah, Raul Asensio. He's been amazing. What a performance that he had against Manchester City. I think he was man of the match, in my opinion. I know that Vinicius got it, but Raul Asensio, oh my goodness me. The only thing that has happened that's good is him in terms of these injuries, right? Like, that's the underlying positive with this injury crisis, because if Militao never got injured, we would have never seen Raul Asensio, right? This guy wasn't even talked about heading into this season. People were talking about Joan Martinez, the 16-year-old from the academy, but then he tore his ACL. Another kid from the academy that's a defender tore his ACL, and then Militao tore his ACL, and then Raul Asensio has gotten a chance, and he has took it with both hands and ran with it. What a fantastic player Raul Asensio is. I don't really see a weakness in his game. I'm calling him the Sergio Ramos regen. He is amazing. Now, next to him, I think that we got to go Tchouaméni. Tchouaméni recently has been really good at center back, right? He had a good performance against Atleti. He had a good performance against Manchester City. And I'm hoping that it continues, right? Against Osasuna, my back line should not be that busy. We should be able to be dominating the ball, and we should be cooking them for a majority of the match, and we should be winning this game pretty comfortably. Now, at left back is where I do think that a change is made from the Man City game. I think that Fran Garcia gets back into the starting 11. Ferland Mendy started against Man City, but in a game like this where I expect us to be attacking for a majority of it, we all know that Fran Garcia is one of the best attacking fullbacks just in La Liga, in my opinion, right? Like when he overlaps and when he's in that final third, it's super dangerous. And defensively, he has been solid as well. And I think that this is a match where he should be able to cook. Now, in midfield, I think that we have to go Camavinga, right? Camavinga in that pivot. And then next to him, we got to go Dani Ceballos. So this is the pivot that I would have. I think that Dani Ceballos has been fantastic for a majority of this season. Like, let's just be very honest here. This guy has saved his career. I think Dani Ceballos, aside from that mistake that he made where he gave up the penalty to Phil Foden, I actually think that Ceballos has been playing at a pretty high level in terms of just his form. And I think that he has to continue the starting 11, right? Camavinga, we all know how much we rate him. I think that his performances could be a lot better. But Camavinga, somebody that I have a lot of trust in. So that's how I think the double pivot will be. On the right, got to go Rodrigo. Rodrigo, in my opinion, I think he was okay against Manchester City. I expected more from him, but it is what it is. Like, he's been on some great form since this new year has started. Probably our most informed attacker still. But yeah, I think he'll have a big game against Osasuna. In the 10, we got to go Jude, man. Man like Jude Bellingham scored the winner. I think he had a solid game against Man City. He was involved in all of the goals that we scored, and his defensive work rate is crazy. Like, the disrespect that Jude Bellingham gets is ridiculous. This guy is one of the best midfielders in the world. I don't care what anybody says. He's one of the best all-around midfielders. There is no weakness in Jude's game. Let's be very clear. He can do everything. You need him to defend. You need him to help in attack. You need him to help in possession. He can do whatever it is that you need him to do. Stop playing with my guy, Jude. Now, on the left, got to go Vinny, right? I'm still waiting for Vinicius to have like an amazing game. I think he was solid against Manchester City, got man of the match. He got 2 assists, right? Got the assist for the winner with Jude. And they also gave him the assist for Brahim Diaz's goal as well. But I think Vinny could have been a little bit better. And I do expect him to wake up eventually, right? I think since this new year has started, Vinicius has not been playing at the Ballon d'Or level that I thought that he would be, right? And there's still a lot of time left in this season, but I think it's going to click in this game, right? Last time he played Osasuna, he did have a hat trick, and I expect him to bag this game. And now up top, got to go Mbappe, right? Mbappe scored the first goal against Man City, and I think he's been really good since the second half of the season has kicked off, to be honest, right? Like, the first half, Mbappe was super mid, but lately, Mbappe's just been the guy. So this is the starting 11 that I would start if I was Carlo Ancelotti. I think that we have to go strong here, because if we drop points this game, it's not going to be pretty, okay? It's going to be crash out settings. But yeah, get in the comment section. Let me know what you're saying for my starting 11. Do you agree with it? And if you don't, what changes would you make? But look, big up to everybody that's in here watching, right? Make sure you guys smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. As I said, get in the comment section. Let me know what you're thinking for this game. And also, do not forget to turn on those post notifications so you don't miss anytime I drop a new video or I go live. You guys do not want to miss it. We will be doing a watch along right here on the channel. It's going to be super lit. And do not forget to join that Discord, right? The link is pinned in the comment section. But look, let me know what you guys are saying and your score predictions. I'll give mine during the watch along. Holla Madrid!